Happy New Year, or soon to be New Year. Depends when you're listening, or happy post New Year. This is BestowCast. Welcome to what would be the final episode of season 2. We made it. Oh, what a year! What a year it was. So I'm going to do something that's a little bit unorthodox. I think I say that in every episode. Every episode is just going to be a little bit unorthodox. I'm going to talk about Bestow TV in this episode. Now, wait. Don't leave. Please don't click away. Just please stick through it. I mean, hopefully, like the fans of Bestow TV, you are listening and you're in full support. And I want you to comment wherever you can comment and show me that you love this show. But kind of looking forward, I want to kind of do some New Year's resolutions, but gear it towards specifically Bestow TV. Not necessarily me personally, but what I would like to do for the channel and what I would like to accomplish in 2023. If I end up doing this episode again next year, I can reflect on that. I can go back and be like, hey, let's listen back to episode 20 of season 2 and see how far did Paul get, or how far did any of this accomplish. Where to start? I'm not even 100% sure where to start. I think like one of the things that I want to do. Or well, let's take this adventure. Let's do this thing. Roughly around I want to say around June, early July. I was doing fairly good. I was doing good with keeping up with the Bestow TV YouTube channel. I know the YouTube channel's been very, very rocky for me. But I think one of the major problems, and this is probably a fault of mine, is that you need to be consistent. You need to put out weekly. And for a while there, I was doing really, really well. I think I had a year and a half streak, and then the bad thing happened. My editing rig went down, and I was unable to edit. If I was streaming, I had problems with the streaming aspect of it because I try to store the streams in hopes to re-edit them into something simpler. Or if they were on Twitch, I'd like to reissue them to YouTube or reissue a version to YouTube. But my streaming rig isn't really set to hold a lot of stuff. That was a lot that relied a lot on the editing rig, and I mean no fault for that rig. I have had that rig for a darn long time. I mean it's probably going to get a Viking funeral or something, and I mean it's good. I can use it. It's a Mac. It is a Mac. It's at the end of its lifespan, so I couldn't get any more updates after 2020. So it was only a matter of time, and eventually it just gets to a point where it just kind of just shuts down. Lobo and I had experienced this while recording Sleepless Knights with Mr. Lobo, and we would be in mid-recording, and then all of a sudden the whole thing would shut down. And that kind of became problematic, and I don't really, again, here's another taboo thing. We're not really supposed to be talking about finances, especially finances that are specific to this channel. But yeah, YouTube and Twitch and some of the other stuff just don't pay. It does, and unfortunately when the editing rig went down, I had no funds to kind of, I mean, basically what happened is I converted my streaming rig into an editing rig, but there's still stuff that was needed. I actually needed actual monitors. I was using an HDMI television to do it, and to utilize the interface. And unfortunately, when you use a television set, the screen just goes beyond the edges of the television. You got that inch of plastic around the edges of the television set. So I couldn't see if there was any icons that were too far to the left or too far to the right. I couldn't see them. My menu bar was always cut off. So that included I had to get monitors. I still have to get a freaking hard drive, and it just required me to. I've talked about this in the last couple of episodes, to get a side hustle. I was doing Amazon. It's called Amazon Flex. That just allowed me to pick my schedule and try to work around it. And I ended up spending more time on Amazon Flex than I did on my YouTube channel. And it just happens. You gotta keep the roof over your head and do whatever you can. And unfortunately, the channel took a hit until I brought back at least the podcast, because I'm like, well, I can do the podcast. I can convert the podcast into an audio only podcast, and in doing so, it will require less stress on my lack of storage. So all I have to do is do the audio segments, and not worry about storing video or setting up multi cameras and having multi cameras storage. So I think everybody who has kind of gone through, and the fans of the podcast still listen to the podcast despite that there's no visual elements. But that might bring me to point number 2. Moving forward, I feel like the audio version is probably going to be here to stay quite a bit longer. I never have accomplished the goal of getting the hard drive setup that I want. On top of that, I kind of want to build kind of a, because I have quite a bit of an archive going on, is that I would like to, kind of build, I guess, a NAS or some sort of a huge storage unit so that I can actually like move files back and forth. So that means that the visual portion of the show isn't going to, it's not going to come back anytime soon. I'd like it to come back, but I have to be kind of realistic. That's a thing that 2022 kind of helped me out, is to see realistically what's going to happen. And realistically, I'm going to have to lean more onto the audio version of the podcast, which means that there's going to be less visual portions to the podcast, which means that as far as YouTube goes, I might not be putting the podcast on YouTube in 2023. This might be the last podcast that you listen to on YouTube, if you listen to it on YouTube, for reasons being that it just doesn't do well. I mean, there's no visual element to it, so people aren't really clicking. There's nothing to entice people to click on it. People that are probably coming back are the people that are routinely listening to the podcast. But I have it distributed everywhere else. That's probably even more convenient than YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, etc. That it probably would be better off that I just serve the podcast, the audio version of the podcast on the other venues, and just kind of wean it away from YouTube. I am sorry if that's where you listen to this version of the podcast, but there is a footnote. There is a footnote to this. When I do get back into doing the visual element to the podcast and turning it back into a vodcast, what will probably happen is that I started doing this on Twitch, where it's like we were doing the podcast on Twitch and we were streaming it live, and then it would come back and I would edit it down, and then the vodcast would go back onto Spotify and YouTube. Twitch, I think, is pretty much out of the picture for 2023. I mean, unless I get swayed back for some reason. I mean, I kind of got swayed away because people who are subscribers to the YouTube channel never get notifications when things are happening. And then when we were doing things live, they were mad because they never got notification and they could never be there to be present. However, on the other end, I'm doing things on Twitch, and I have to jump through all these different hoops to do different things, and I'm trying to get the funds, trying to I'm not allowed to talk about this. I'm not allowed to say that I'm trying to make money out of this, but I got to make a living doing this. If you guys want this on a constant basis, I have to do something. And I don't, jumping through all the hoops through Twitch was kind of a pain in the ass when it already existed on YouTube. Not to mention that the same people that were complaining about YouTube never getting notifications, when it was on Twitch, nobody ever got notifications anyway. So it was just the same thing, and there was just a lot of Lobo and I were trying to interlink the things. We wanted to have the Bestow TV channel interlink with the Cinema Insomnia channel that would interlink with the OSI 74 channel. And I just think it's conceptually it's fine, it works, but I think in practicality and trying to make it all work, it just never really worked. I already jumped through all those hoops on YouTube, and I've already got they're supposed to provide ad revenue and everything else, so it just makes no sense to go back to the bottom and start working up on Twitch. Ideally, I wanted both to happen. I wanted both to work in the same world together. I mean, again, it's wishful thinking. I wanted everything to mesh really well, and in reality, it doesn't really work out that way. I can't stream. I mean, I could stream because I'm a smaller channel, but once I start getting a revenue, I can't stream at the same time for both YouTube and Twitch. And realistically, you don't want to anyway. You're splitting your audience. I mean, I know some people prefer the chocolate and some people prefer vanilla, but unfortunately, you just have to pick one or the other. And I think moving forward, I'm going to probably strictly live stream on YouTube. If there's ever a reason to do Twitch, I'm not throwing it out, but I don't see any reasons why I need to stray away from YouTube, especially for what I do. I'm doing stuff on that's geek culture related. A lot of other people that are on Twitch are doing video gaming and stuff, and Twitch, it leans towards those video gamers, and I don't really do much of that. I do the collecting, I do the comics, I do the toys, I do the interviews or whatever else. So with that being said, what I would like to do is that if we go back to the visual element, I would like to do the BestowCast as a live stream, and kind of do how I was doing it before, where it's the live stream and it's edited down in post. I also want to simplify the live stream. I have a studio set up with curtains and lights and everything, and that kind of becomes, and multi cameras and everything, and that kind of becomes a pain to set up. That's like an hour, 2 hours to set up before you stream, let alone having to test out the streaming service. I kind of want to simplify it. I was thinking of just maybe something simple near my editing desk and just stream here. But again, if you're able to comment, please comment. Let me know what you guys think about that. What I will do is I will stream BestowCast on YouTube. I will edit down the version that becomes the podcast. I don't think now. I know like Spotify does the visual element. First season of BestowCast is visual. The first season and a half is relies on that visual element. I don't think it necessarily works out for me. I think I need to kind of keep the two things separate, where I have to have, if I, the video stuff's just going to have to go on YouTube, and the podcast is just going to be stripped down back to a podcast for Spotify and the other elements. That being said, I don't know that YouTube will get an edited visual version. I think that the only thing that the YouTube audience will get is the live stream version, and then that pretty much it. You'll just pretty much get the live stream version. If there's demand for it, I'll probably I can edit it down. But otherwise, I think I don't see any reasons to cross the streams there. I feel like I can just leave the live stream. The other element I wanted to bring up is that I have the options to do memberships on YouTube, and I kind of want to experiment with it. I know subscriber-wise and longevity of the channel and everything, I'm not really at that degree, and they don't want me to ask for subscribers on the YouTube end of it, which makes sense. Again, the reason why we're not supposed to talk about money or talk about income or whether or not we're getting paid by the sponsors or anything is that they want us to focus on our art and creating a fan group. And I want to create art and I want to create fan group. I have loads of videos that I put a lot of heart and soul in, that I would hope that I would find a fan base that would enjoy that. And it's tough. YouTube wants things YouTube's way, and I want to produce content. I don't necessarily want to produce the same thing that every other YouTuber is producing, which is it's kind of tough. Which is why I was considering doing the members only area, and specifically have that be behind the scenes stuff. So if I'm recording episodes for if I'm recording something for a video that I'm making in the future, you get behind the scenes, get direct contact. We get to talk, we get to chat, we get to chatter. We may get to influence the episode, but unfortunately, there might have to be a paywall to get in. And again, I understand. Some fans have reached out where it's like, provide the free funny, get your ad revenue from that. And, I can't afford to buy t-shirts and knickknacks and when I had a Patreon, I can't go through the paywall of going through a Patreon. And I get that. It's not for everyone. That's why it's out there. It's a tool that I have, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to capitalize that in 2023. I mean, that's there for 2023, but I don't know if I'm going to capitalize on it. The other thing is that I have a friends of. We were trying to build up a Discord, but I also have a friends of on Facebook as well. I'd like to build up the Discord, build up the friends of Bestow TV. This is stuff that you guys have direct access. I know that everything is all spread out. Nothing likes to communicate with anything else. So it's like YouTube's don't like to. If I'm doing something on Twitch, YouTube's don't like that. If I'm doing something on Facebook, well, Facebook doesn't like this thing. Sorry, I can't have like 50 different accounts to run. But there is a Friends of Bestow TV group at facebook.com/group/Friends of Bestow TV. It's it's a membership page. You don't have to pay to join, but I hope to have more direct contact. I'd like to have a Friends of Bestow TV Discord up and running, but that's hit or miss. I've got to wear all the hats. I gotta juggle all the plates. Please join up and contact me and tell me, hey, I like more of this. I'd like less of this. I love the podcast. I liked Mr. Lobo Does more so than the podcast. I liked it better when you were on Sleepless Knights versus the Bestow TV stuff. Right now I'm operating in a void. I don't hear anything from anybody. The people that I work with are really close friends. I hear stuff from, but otherwise, and I know I'm opening Pandora's box by asking so, but I'd like to produce for you. So I brought up Sleepless Knights. So let's backtrack back to like June again. So we were producing Sleepless Knights. We were in the middle of a reboot and a reimagining that was going to go in a different direction. That was building up to our third anniversary or fourth anniversary. Jeez, which was gonna reset the status quo. A bunch of randomness was happening. We had birthdays and we had conventions to go to, and we had shows to produce, and we had holidays that kind of it just constantly delay. And then the ultimate thing is like right there at the end when we were producing episodes, because there were episodes that were produced past the there's like kind of a definitive end if you listen to that podcast where it ends and then the reboot's supposed to begin, and we were like 3 or 4 episodes deep into the rebooted end of Sleepless Nights. And ultimately my computer, that's when my computer took a crap, and it's just like, oh, I gotta walk away. I don't have enough funds to fix my computer, so I'm gonna have to pick up a part-time job. It's going to be a while. I haven't heard much from Camp Lobo since June. His stuff really took off from what I'm reading on his fan pages and everything. And big kudos for him, because that's what his stuff should be about. I made the executive decision, I was going to drop the 3 or 4 episodes, and when we got fixed, we would just go back to where, we would just pick up from there. And it was just like, well, Lobo's super busy with conventions. He's super busy with his his Twitch. He's really got things rolling in the direction that he wants to. The podcast was kind of the thing that he was just doing for the fans and for me. But that's not where his passion lies, and I get that. So I ended up not producing those final 3 to 4 episodes. I put them in the back burner because I feel like the podcast has a definitive end where we are rebooted and we're supposed to, enter a new phase. And I kind of feel like if the podcast comes back, because there's such a huge gap. I mean, we're almost 6 months later. and who knows? Last time it was 2 years before between when we produced the last episode and the next episode. In my mind, when that happens, or if that happens, if we do the podcast again, the series is already set to have a restart. I feel like pushing out those 3 episodes would do the channel a disservice. And if we picked it up again, I would actually put those episodes out as lost episodes. By the way, the Sleepless Knights Patreon, once I couldn't fulfill my duties for the Sleepless Knights Patreon, that went on into hibernation. I believe the subscribers, we turned off subscriptions on the YouTube channel, or sorry, on the Spotify for what people were giving us in not producing. And for me, not producing is kind of unfair. So all that stuff was kind of turned off. So I feel like if we come back, I feel like a new start would be perfect for a new start. It would be in the area where we could start from fresh. And Lobo was throwing things around anyway, where he more so wanted it to be interviews. And again, kudos to him if he wants to be interviews, and less our slapstick late night bullshit that we were doing. That's fine. And again, if it's in a position where if he wants to come back and he wants to do interviews and make it an interview series, well, then that's fine. It's an interview series. It's in that area where it's in that gray area where it can be anything. It can be anything that he wants it to be. He can bring it back, and the Pantsless Producer is just not a co-host, which is, I guess, is that's a thing. That's Sleepless Knights is Mr. Lobo's property, and I understand that. Hopefully, I could stay on to edit or be a producer, but there's just a whole realm of possibilities with that show. As of now, then there's no moving forward with that show. Mr. Lobo is focused on Sleepless Knights. No, Mr. Lobo is focused on Cinema Insomnia, which is where his focus should be. He's focused on OSI. He's focused on the Mr. Lobo brand, and that is awesome. That is the way it should be. And that's the way it has to be. And on the inverse, I need to focus on the Bestow TV brand. I need to make sure that that's always moving, and that's on the rails, and that's where it needs to be, and that's where it should be. Moving in 2023, one of the things that Mr. Lobo pointed out right before the whole crash was that I have a tendency to overwork myself or put too many things on the schedule. Hopefully, I can get focused enough that I can keep the weekly, at least weekly on the video end of it for YouTube, at least weekly on the podcast. I would love to do 7 days a week on the podcast, or twice a week if I could on the podcast. But that might be too much. Another New Year's resolution is I would love to get myself. I know editing is my forte. It's a thing that I love doing, but I understand that it's that there's. My time is divided between too many things. That I would love to hire, air quotes hire. Again, that leans back on the I have to have funding. If I have to pay somebody to be my editor, I have to find a way to continuously pay that person to be there. If somebody wants to volunteer, I welcome it, but I don't expect it. On the same note, I would love to have a producer as well, someone that can keep Paul Sanders focused on what he needs to do. When Paul gets depressed, when he works hours on a video and it just doesn't churn out the views that he was expecting, and he gets depressed and ends up taking off 2-3 weeks because he just doesn't feel like doing it anymore because nobody loves me. If I had a producer to keep my ass, my head out of my ass, that would be fine. But again, it's right now it's an unpaid gig. If there's fans that want to be a part of a machine, that's fine. If I can find a way to pay that person to be a part of the machine, that is fine. I don't like the idea of people working for free continuously, or forever, in perpetuity for the rest of your life. You're a slave to Bestow TV. that's a thing that I'll probably have to find in 2023 if that's what I want to do. I would love to get to that thing, to that benchmark for BestowCast. One of the things I'm going to open up is I'm going to start doing a little bit more interviews for BestowCast. Riley was my co-host for quite a long time, and I'm very thankful that they gave me their time to be on the show. But they're also a student, and they've got that education and everything to do that. All that stuff takes priority over what Dad wants to do, and that is okay. And I don't know, like that might be a thing that might be a hit, or a negative hit on the podcast, where it's you're listening to one person's thought. You're just listening to Paul Sanders' thoughts on the world, and maybe I'll bring in the occasional person for an interview, or maybe we'll find a co-host and bounce off of each other. But for now, it's going to be me on my solo, which is fine as far as recording. I used to record ahead of time. I mean, that was the whole thing with Sleepless Knights, is we record like 2 weeks ahead of time. This has had tendency for me to go like, here's the thing I was thinking about today while I was en route, and then I just come in and plug in my microphone and I just talk for a half an hour. So there's advantages for being me and alone, and then there's advantages for having co-host. Some reasons to have a co-host is sometimes I'll say shit the wrong way. I don't say something. I say something I didn't intend, or say something that might be potentially insensitive that I didn't intend to be insensitive. I was just being a dumbass. I say things wrong. I know, like, I get into editing and I'll be like, oh, we just spent a whole shtick talking about Harrison Ford being an Indiana Jones, and then I'm on the next thing, and I'm talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm specifically talking about Sylvester Stallone, but for whatever gosh darn reason, whatever damn reason, I'm saying Harrison Ford the entire edit, and it's like, ugh. If I had a co-host, I'd be like, yo, no, you're saying the wrong person, or somebody to correct me. But that's I think that's the gist of what I want for 2023 for Bestow TV. I hope that everybody is still on board with me. I thank everybody that's supported me all this entire time. I mean, I know I like to be self-deprecating, and I find humor in being self-deprecating, and I feel like nobody can make fun of me better than myself. And I know I kind of realize that sometimes when I'm doing the self-deprecation jokes, that I might be slighting the fans that have been there from the beginning, when I'm complaining about lack of views or whatever. That there's people that are always there, that was always backing me from the beginning, and I don't mean to I don't mean to slight you for a joke, but I thank you for your support. I thank you for another year of BestowCast, and hopefully we'll see hopefully we will see a 2023 version of BestowCast moving forward. And I hope that everybody that's listening to this will be there to help us grow, or watch us grow, or provide some insight or whatever. Let's try to make this a community thing instead of the Paul Sanders trying to pull it out of his ass for 10 years thing. More than 10 years. 10 years plus. Anyway, I thank you again. If you can like, comment, subscribe, wherever you can like, comment, subscribe, please do so. If you can join us at the Facebook group, the facebook.com/group/friends of Bestow TV, answer the membership questions, become a member, chat with me directly. Let's do this. Come on, 2023. And cut.